Houston woman says a man she met on a dating app slit her throat on their very first date.
Woman murdered during a Tinder date in Layton.
Search for remains in the killing of a 19-year-old Milwaukee woman.
Jemson packed Grace's body into this suitcase, loaded it into a rental car, then buried her in shallow earth outside the city.
Tonight, police have identified the woman stabbed to death on a Tinder date, Ashlyn Black.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be going over the darkest first dates, so please leave a like. Hopefully I earned your subscription by the end, and enjoy the video. Luis Cevallos and Alexis Rodriguez. On August 21st, 2021, in North Bergen, New Jersey, a police officer, John Nunez, pulled over a young couple, 24-year-old Luis Cevallos and 27-year-old Alexis Rodriguez, for reckless driving, speeding, and running a red light. They were also clocked at going at least 100 miles per hour. Alexis apologized to the officer, saying they were on their first date and that they were in a rush to go back home. The officer then replies, "Almost killing each other is no way to start on the first date." Officer Nunez issued 3 tickets to Luis for reckless driving, failure to observe a red light traffic signal, and violation of restrictions on a provisional license. The couple were then let go and told to get home safe. But 14 minutes later, Officer Nunez responds to a call over the police radio saying that there was an accident near Route 1 and 9 and 36th Street, close to where Nunez had previously stopped the car. When the officer responded to the call, he quickly realizes that it was the same car. The couple had been involved in a crash with a tractor trailer. The officer told his colleagues that he had just pulled over the vehicle and appeared in shock at what just happened. The top of the keel was shredded off. According to a Daily Voice report, and responders said high speed appeared to be the only factor to cause the crash. The 2 young couple were pronounced dead at the scene at 2:26 a.m. This incident is very sad. Even if they were in a rush to get home, there's no reason to run through red lights and go over 100 miles per hour. I don't know if Luis was trying to impress Shorty, but that is no way to go on a first date. You also have to feel for Officer Nunez, since he previously warned the couple about causing an accident. Warriena Wright. On August 7th, 2014, in Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Australia, 26-year-old Warriena Wright went on a Tinder date with 28-year-old Gable Tostee. The two met up at a local spot at Cavill Avenue, which is in Surfers Paradise. After meeting for the first time, they walked to a nearby bar, the Beer Garden, but quickly left just a few minutes after arriving. Then CCTV footage shows them at a BWS, which is a liquor store in Australia, where they purchased a 6-pack of beers. Then they headed to Gable's place at the Avalon Apartments. Most of their night was also audio recorded by Gable on his Sony Xperia phone. Gable was kind of obsessed with recording his date nights. He says, "Sometimes I even leave my phone on record in my pocket for nights out in case I forget what happens." During their night together, the pair took selfies, drank alcohol, and eventually had sex, with a lot of their conversations being nonsensical, talking about galaxies, traveling, and gods. You know, just normal date night talk. But as the night went on, the two became extremely drunk. Warriena even states that she cycled drunk at one point and her behavior grew aggressively. In the audio, you can hear Warriena throwing these decor rocks at Gable as just play fighting. But at one point, Gable tells her to just relax. "I don't like getting beaten up." Around 1:33 a.m., Warriena claims she wanted to go home, but she couldn't find her phone and she was accusing Gable of taking it. Gable revealed in an interview that he indeed had her phone in his pocket. Warriena was in frustration, threatening that she will call the cops, and claims she always gets taken advantage of. Warriena eventually calms down and they start talking about gods and Greek mythology again, which obviously they are really intoxicated at this point, and even continue to pour more drinks. At 2:12 a.m., Gable says, "Alright, I give up. What do you want?" And Warriena throws another rock at him. Gable then says, "I will do what you want. I will be your sex slave," as Warriena yet again throws another rock. And this is where the night really goes downhill. We can only speculate what really happened since we only have the audio recording. But at this point, Gable is done. He's had enough, and now his behavior turns aggressive. It sounds like he's holding her down, choking her.
Let go.
And this is when he says a very controversial line to this case. He says, "You're lucky I haven't chucked you off my balcony, you goddamn psycho little." Now Gable says he's gonna let her go just the way she is. And guys, I'm going to warn you, Gable throws her and locks her outside his balcony of his 14th floor apartment. As she screams for her life, "I just want to go home."
Who the fuck do you think you
you are?
No!
Hmm?
No! No!
You're
No!
trying to kill me, huh?
No!
Why'd you try to hit me with that?
No!
Huh?
No! 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 No!
Fucking mouth. It's all on recording, you know? It's all being recorded. I would, but you've been a bad girl.
Outside, then she tried to lower herself to the apartment below, but sadly, she falls to her death. In the recording, you can hear Gable heavily breathing, and you can hear Warriena in the background as she falls. When Gable realized what had just happened, he grabs his phone, but instead of calling emergency services, he tries to call his lawyer, who did not pick up. Minutes later, Gable exits the building from a fire exit. CCTV footage shows Gable pacing around Surfers Paradise until he stops to get a pizza, where then he calls his dad to tell him he has a bit of a situation. Dr. Diane Little conducted an autopsy on Miss Wright's body 3 days after her fatal fall. Dr. Little recorded 80 separate injuries on Warriena's body, including severe trauma to her head and body, which caused her death. Dr. Little said Warriena had areas of reddening around her neck, but they were most likely caused by the fall, rather than prior injury, such as strangulation. There was no evidence of internal injuries to the neck. So my question is, what was happening when Warriena was gasping for air and when it sounded like she was choking? Warriena's eye fluid was tested to estimate her blood alcohol level at the time, which was 0.156%. Dr. Little also noted multiple scars on Warriena's wrist, thigh, and upper chest, which appeared to have been self-inflicted. She said the scars were not recent and probably more than weeks or months old. The trial of Gable Tostee lasted 6 days and 4 days of deliberation. In the end, Gable was found not guilty of manslaughter and murder in Warriena Wright's death. The prosecution suggested Gable Tostee did not push or throw Miss Wright off the balcony, rather he locked her outside and intimidated her so much that she felt her only escape was climbing down. This case is very controversial, with many people siding with Gable, saying that he's not guilty and never was, and many people very disappointed, saying Gable got away with murder. So did the jury get this case right? Grace Millane. On December 1st, 2018, in Auckland, New Zealand, the night before Grace Millane's 22nd birthday, she went on a Tinder date with 26-year-old Jesse Kempson. On the following day, Grace did not respond to any of her messages from her family wishing her a happy birthday. Her parents eventually reported her missing on the 5th of December. Detectives contacted a friend of Grace who told them that she had gone on a Tinder date that night before her birthday. They also shortly obtained CCTV footage of where Grace was staying and traced her every steps. Footage spots her meeting up with a man at Sky City in the center of Auckland. Police reviewed Grace's social media and noticed the last person to have commented on a photo of Grace was Jesse Shane Kempson, so they contacted him and arranged an interview. But the story Jesse gave did not align with CCTV footage. What they were suspicious about was this black suitcase Jesse brought up to his room, but police later find out that it was still in his room. After reviewing more footage, they found out Grace went up to his room, but she never left. The following day, Jesse had some suspicious purchases such as bleach, cleaning gloves, and other cleaning materials. And he even rented a car for the day, which is like, that's not really that suspicious, just a car. After cleaning his room, he is seen taking down that black suitcase on a cart. Jesse was then brought in for questioning for a second time, and this time he gave a different story.
Started talking to me about 50 Shades of Grey, which is a sex fantasy movie that's out. We started having sex. At first it was just normal. It was very placid. And then she asked me if we could get into bondage. And then all I remember is falling asleep in the shower. I need to stop. I need to go.
Would you like some fresh air?
Yeah, please. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I went downstairs and I was just, I don't know, I was all over the place. I didn't believe what had happened. I was just terrified and scared. I thought that she had gone. I thought she had left.
Pathologist, a specialist doctor, will perform a post-mortem. They're very skilled at establishing people's causes of death. Do you understand that? Did you kill Grace Millane? You're under arrest for the murder of Grace Millane on or about the 2nd of December. You understand?
Yeah, so apparently he did not notice that he had strangled her during intercourse. Then after intercourse, he fell asleep in the shower. And when he woke up, I guess he had panicked, so his first initial thought was to get rid of her body instead of calling emergency services. But this was a lie, because after detectives reviewed his phone, they saw not only that he took explicit images of her naked body, but he was searching up for P-Hub content, hot as fire, in a mountain area close to where he lives. Police reviewed more footage of Jesse, which shows him taking down that black suitcase fully loaded. Jesse also finally tells detectives his every traces as they acquire the footage of where he had gone. Jesse can be seen purchasing a shovel from a store, then seen at a car wash hours later cleaning off loads of dirt off the car. And Jesse finally admits that in between the time of purchasing the shovel and the car wash, that he had gone out to bury Grace Millane's body. Jesse was put under arrest for the murder of Grace Millane and was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum 17-year non-parole period in February of 2020. Jesse was also convicted of a range of crimes against his former partner, including threatening to kill, assault with a deadly weapon, and R-word. Jesse Kempson has been sentenced to 7.5 years in prison for those crimes, which took place before the murder of Grace Millane. Ashlyn Black. On May 23, 2020, in Layton, Utah, Ashlyn Black, of 25 years old, matched with 24-year-old Ethan Hunsaker. After meeting on Tinder, the pair went on a first date to a local bar and headed to Hunsaker's home after. According to Ethan, it was a completely normal date. They had sex and then fell asleep. But around 3:19 on the 24th, Layton police received a phone call from Ethan. He told them he had murdered a person in his home and asked the police to shoot and kill him.
I have a male on the line saying he wants to die and that he killed someone.
Suspect wants us to shoot him. Blood on the floor, looks unconscious, not moving.
Police would rush to the apartment where they had found Ashlyn Black lying on the floor, suffering from multiple stab wounds to her torso. Paramedics would desperately attempt to resuscitate the young woman, but no avail. She was sadly pronounced dead at the scene. Ethan stated that when he woke up, Ashlyn was lying on his arm and he began to choke her as hard as he could for around 1 minute. Afterwards, he grabbed a pocket knife and stabbed Ashlyn around 5 to 10 times. He confessed that he invited her with the intention of murdering her. Ethan was arrested and transported to Davis County Jail, where he mentioned that he had been having daily suicidal and homicidal thoughts. In June of that year, Ethan appeared in court where he pleaded not guilty to the murder of Ashlyn. His defense lawyer, Mark Lee Arrington, said that Ethan had been diagnosed previously with a mental illness. The judge ordered a psychological examination on Ethan. The following year, Ethan pleaded guilty but mentally ill to first-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for the murder of Ashlyn Black. Before he is sent to the Utah State Prison, he will be committed to the Utah State Hospital for no more than 18 months or until his mental state has been stabilized. Sade Robinson. On April 1st, 2024, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 19-year-old Sade Robinson went on a first date with 33-year-old Maxwell. The two met up at Twisted Fisherman restaurant, where they ate food and had a few drinks. Maxwell also mentioned to a bartender that they were on their first date, which staff later repeated to investigators. The two then headed to a bar called Duke's on Water at around 6:30 p.m. and left at around 9 p.m. The next day, Sade didn't show up to work, which co-workers said was unusual, as Sade never misses work nor doesn't call in. No one had heard from Sade, not her family or friends. Her co-workers ordered a welfare check on Sade. Sade was then reported missing. Sade's friends provided Snapchat posts to police that she had shared on April 1st. Around this time, police received a report that a car had been caught on fire in a parking lot on the 1800 block of North 29th Street. The vehicle was a 2020 Honda Civic and belonged to Sade Robinson. Clothing she was seen wearing April 1st was found in the trunk, along with remnants of a cell phone. An eyewitness reported seeing a man with a backpack flicking a lighter and throwing it into the car, which later they find out surveillance cameras capture a white man walking away from that car. The man was wearing a gray hoodie and a tan backpack. As authorities were investigating the vehicle, someone finds a human leg. Yeah, this case is very crazy. Some people call it Jeffrey Dahmer 2.0 or Jeffrey Dahmer 2024. But this case really blows my mind. Like, how can you be so evil and do this stuff? The leg appeared to belong to a black female found at Warriena Park in Kudahai. The leg was found about 2/3 of the way down a 100-foot bluff toward the shoreline and near a pump house. More than a week later, test results would suggest the leg does indeed belong to Sade. On April 4th, police pull over Maxwell in his car and arrest him blocks away from his home. A hoodie found in his car matches the hoodie of the suspect who torched Robinson's car. That same day, law enforcement execute a search warrant at Anderson's home. Officers find blood on one of the bedrooms and on the walls leading to the basement, which authorities have said the blood does not match Sade or Maxwell. So whose blood is it? Several gasoline containers were also found. There was also a sex dungeon in his basement, complete with a sex sling, restraints, and handcuffs, although police refused to comment on what was found in his basement. And one report that there was a massive hole on the side of the house, which Maxwell said that he was working on making his basement larger, but authorities claimed they made it to open a sewer line. So what was it? On April 6th, police canvassed the area of where Robinson's car was found. Officers find a human foot that appears to match the leg found in Kudahai. Other human flesh was also found in the area. Due to witness reports, cell phone data, and security footage, Maxwell Anderson is currently charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. His bail is set at $5 million. Authorities have also confirmed that Sade's phone did indeed ping at all locations, including Maxwell's home for 3 hours and 19 minutes, and also at a park in River West for 30 minutes. On April 18th, a person found a torso and an arm on a remote stretch of tree-lined beach on Lake Michigan. Hopefully police are looking at other missing people cases or unsolved murders, as there are signs that there are more victims. And as of today, June 30th, 2024, there are 175 missing people in Milwaukee County. Experts have gone to say that this is such a violent and gruesome act to do on top of murder that it is most likely a sign that it's not this individual's first homicide, that it is something you build up to. Rest in peace to Sade Robinson. I hope Sade's family gets the justice that they deserve, and hopefully they find the rest of Sade's body. Tayla Smith. In September of 2023, in Southeast Houston, Tayla Smith, of 22 years old, was on a Tinder date with 24-year-old Cordell Stewart. Tayla had invited Cordell over to her home just 5 days after meeting. She said the two watched a movie, ate dinner together, and cuddled. Tayla said about 5 hours later, the two began kissing before he pinned her hands under his knees, covered her mouth, and pulled out a knife and slit her throat. Cordell beat her up as Tayla battled over the knife. Tayla said, and I quote, "At this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, Tayla, if you don't fight back, you're going to die. He's going to get this knife out of your hands and he's going to stab you to death." End quote. Tayla was able to overcome Cordell and run outside to reach her neighbors for help. Cordell was arrested hours later and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Tayla Smith said she does not believe she was attacked because she was transgender, as Cordell was aware before the confrontation. She says, and I quote, "I still want to know what it is," end quote. Before inviting him over, Tayla said she did not know about prior charges Cordell Stewart was facing. Court records in Galveston show Stewart was charged with murder in 2020. He was accused of shooting and killing a man during a sale of shoes. Cordell was also charged in 2022 for having a shank or a makeshift knife in the jail. Tayla warns about the use of dating apps. She says, "Please search up their names. I feel like if I would have searched up his name and I would have seen that, I probably would have been like, no. Do your background checks and just be safe." End quote. Alright guys, that is the end of today's video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and hopefully I earned your subscription. I know this video is a bit darker than my previous ones, and I know I left out a bit of information about these cases, but I tried my best to fit in the most important details of the cases, and I was trying not to make this video too long. I just want to say rest in peace to those that were lost, and stay safe to those of you using dating apps or going on any first dates. And as always, have a good one. And if you guys are interested on the most disturbing TikTok challenges, please check out my previous video. It would mean a lot. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time I upload.